Paige, welcome to this podcast of Relationship Reflections.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'm really grateful for you agreeing to be here because it can be really confrontational. Stuff can come up around like relationships and feelings and being able to expose and share publicly what's going on for you. I've found is really healing for other people to listen to. So I really appreciate you willing to be here. Now, first question is, in your current relationship,
Yeah.
where do you see like your parents' relationship patterns playing out?
Such an interesting, there's so much that you can uncover here. And I think it's where your healing really starts if you start going generational. But there's recently, some of the things that have been coming up is probably the dynamic between like the masculine and feminine. In my parents' relationships, mom's quite a masculine energy. She very much controls the household, was very organized, did all the kids stuff, everything like that. And dad was kind of the income earner. So it was only until recently, obviously through the growth in my relationship, that I kind of started seeing that play out for me and my partner, where I was starting to kind of take on control of all the organizing of everything, being really controlling of making sure everything was structured, organized. And then I was relying on my partner to be the income earner for the household. And then I think I started to catch that a little bit, and I'm trying to undo that so it doesn't, I suppose, unfold the same way it has for my parents, because it's still that same dynamic.
Yeah, and how have you seen that impact your parents, that dynamic?
I think it was more like it wasn't together in terms of working together. It was like reliance on one or the other. And it's only been recently that my mum went back to getting quite good income for herself, where they've now there's more clashes, I reckon, in the dynamic, because the relationship's completely shifted, because they're so used to having, I guess, the dad being the income earner, mum staying at home with the kids, and now that's shifted because we're grown up. So I suppose it's very interesting to look back on and seeing how that's playing out in my life now that like I'm growing up, kids are being like, are a conversation coming in, and yeah, it's just being aware of it, I guess.
Okay, because I hear you brought awareness to a pattern between your current relationship and your parents' relationship. I guess, like, what was it that you were seeing in your relationship now that was getting either irritating, or there was some anxiety, it was provoking an emotion in you that required, okay, we need to look at this?
So for me, like context, I'm very independent, and I was very independent before my partner. So, but recently I started my own business. So that meant I reduced workload for an employer. And then my income then was my partner's income for the household. So I started to rely on his income quite heavily. And then I suppose that drew out over time and was becoming a little bit of a conflict within mine and my partner's relationship, because that dynamic wasn't what he was used to either. And I think I caught upon how easy it was for me to slide into that because of what I'd seen in my parents' relationship. And I think whilst he was bringing more of the emotion to it because it was uncomfortable for him, and I was trying to pursue my goals, and we're trying to work on things together, but there was still a little bit of conflict coming up between that, because obviously the income was not 50-50 that like it was at the start of our relationship. So it was bringing up, I suppose, that conflict.
Yeah, what would you see in that conflict? Thank you for that, Paige. In that conflict, what was coming up? Like, what was the conflict?
I suppose because we were used to 50-50. So I think it was just a change in what we had agreed to. And if anyone out there who is a business owner themselves, income isn't as normal as weekly or fortnightly or monthly payments.
Okay.
So I think the change in how I was getting paid became a change for him that he wasn't liking as much.
Right.
When you have to pay rent weekly, fortnightly.
Right. So I hear that getting his head around the cash flow was like bringing up stress and frustration. And how did you guys deal with that?
A lot of communication. I think for me and him, it was trying to become aware of how we can change it so both parties were happy. He's previously a financial advisor, so he's money orientated, loves it, loves goals in relation to money, all of it. But for me, that's a little bit different. I don't have that education. We're not on that level of education with money and finances. So I suppose it was me learning what his needs were, his, I guess, requirements for me, and starting to get a little bit of a change in how we pay things, how we set up our bank accounts, how we communicate, how we become aware of our limits and our boundaries so that we're all both happy, which we have now done.
I love that. I love that you identified the parental pattern, and then instead of going, in that realization, go, okay, now's an opportunity for us to fix this because I don't want to go down that same path as our parent. So it's about communication. Cool. Well, what do we both want? Like, what's going to be comfortable for both of us, or what's going to allow us to expand and allow us to move forward together.
Definitely.
Yeah, great. So in that, your communication of being able to starting your own business. So how did that conversation go?
I am very grateful. My partner literally supports everything I do, which is amazing. So I guess he's always known that I'm very passionate about creating my own business, having that as a long-term goal for me. And I think I've always, before I started my business, I was always talking about doing something for myself. So it wasn't a new thing for him at all. It was kind of like, okay, this is what she's doing. This is what she wants to do. I've currently had my business now for over 2 to 3 years. So it's been about half of our relationship that I've had my own business, because we've been together nearly 6 years. But I guess it's just, again, like a lot of communication. I kind of tell him everything about the business. He just kind of listens in and supports pretty much whatever I do, I guess.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. So where would you like okay, let me reframe that. So in context of your parents' relationship, where is it that you would like to see your own relationship go?
I suppose, like, my parents, as much as they have been amazing parents to us kids, but they haven't always had a very close relationship. My parents aren't ones that are very affectionate couple or anything like that. And I feel like for me, I've always said this to my partner, I don't want to be like that. I want to be able to have a stronger connection like that and put a lot more work into having that connection, which we work on consistently, because I don't want, not that's anything against their relationship, but yeah, I don't want that to be my pattern in my relationship with my partner.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm quite aware of what I don't want and what I do want. As a comparison, I suppose, to what I've seen as my parents' relationship. And I guess I've kind of picked pieces of what I do want, and I'll work on that more heavily with my partner.
Yeah, beautiful. Like, out of 10, how would you see like your parents' affection towards each other? Like, if you could rate it out of 10, what would you rate it at?
Oh, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, be honest.
I get 1.
1 out of 10. Okay, cool. And if you could see them, what would you love to see them reach, like as a number out of 10, like for them? If you have a wish for them, like, what would you like them to see? What would you like
probably, I guess, a realistic number around the 7 mark. They're both very independent people as well, which I think is where I've gained that trait for myself. But I think for them, yeah, around the 7 would be a nice ballpark.
Nice to see that as an example and model for you. I hear a 7 out of 10. Great. And then for you and your partner, where would you rate your physical affection out of 10 right now?
Yeah, around that number, around 6 or 7, I think.
Yeah, great. And where would you like it to be?
It feels pretty good, but obviously there's always growth.
There's always growth.
There's always something to do.
There's always something to do. But yeah, no, I hear that you've got it to a 7, where there's a comfort and there's room for more. Yeah, I love that. So what would you say is if you wanted to get it any higher than 7, what is it that you'd feel like that you'd need to bring to the table or make awareness of? Yeah.
That I would need to, or that we would need to?
Or for you personally, what could you do? What could you do that would do it?
I think being more intentional, I guess, and listening to his needs a bit more. I think when you're in the day-to-day, you sometimes miss the little things that you could do, just to increase that a little bit more. And I think that's probably where I could, just those little things, the little moments throughout the day, the text messages or the small things that you can increase.
Yeah, I love that you know that it's those little things that just add that edge. That's really powerful, Paige. I love that. Yeah, are you familiar with the Gottman Institute and their 5-to-1 ratio? Yeah, right. So for those that don't know, the Gottman Institute speaks to a ratio of 5 positive things to 1 negative thing a day. So if you can praise a partner just 5 times a day, you're exponentially more likely to have an exhilarating or a beneficial or a healthy relationship, as opposed to more negative, or ignoring the bids for attention or affection. So it sounds like you know that. And for those of you that don't know, I recommend trying it. If there's resentment towards your partner, then you discover it in this practicing the 5-to-1 positive things to say. So I don't want to say something positive to my partner. Why? Why don't you want to say something positive to your partner? It's usually there's something else there that's blocking. That's great, Paige. I love that you mentioned that.
That's a little thing that we do is if we're in an argument or anything like that, a question I usually say to my partner is what's one thing you love about me? So it's kind of trying to break that conflict because you can get really caught up in it, and just to say something that you love about them or that's nice, to reduce the emotions. Yeah,
that's beautiful, Paige. Yeah, that's a really powerful technique to drop in there. And when you were speaking, it also reminded me of setting a time limit on heated conversations, 15 minutes or 10 minutes, because after it goes beyond the 10 to 15 minute mark, there's nothing good that can really come from a conversation like that.
100%.
We're done this. I know what the issue is. It's okay. I know. So that's great. Yeah. Cool. Paige, you've been incredible.
Thank you.
I've really there's so much to glean from this, your experience with what you've seen in your parents and how you've identified that in your current relationship, and then how you've iterated your current relationship to work for the long term, which I think is beautiful. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I think that was quite a nice reflection to go on.
I've got one more question for you. So if you had a megaphone or some magic wand that could communicate something to the entire planet about relationships, some words of wisdom, what would that be?
That is a good one. Just one thing, I guess. Watch what you focus on. If you focus on the good, you'll find more good. But if you focus on the negative things about a partner or a friend, you're going to find them. So I suppose just always look for the positive and communicate with them Like, you never know what someone's going through. So allowing that space for communication will change everything.
Wow, I love that. And you're also a well-being coach, yeah?
Sure am, yes.
You specialize in women or men, or?
I majoritively work with women. I have worked with men in the past, though, yes.
Yeah, great. So I'd love to share what you do in this video. So I'll pop in your links to, if anyone wants to work with Paige and the well-being and bringing their, what would you say that you do?
I guess prioritize themselves is like a catchphrase I love to use, is just really getting clear on how they can choose them and achieve the goals that they want to achieve without stress and burnout, and allowing other people's opinions to affect their decisions.
Awesome. So I'll drop all of your details in the bottom of the description of this video. So people, if you love Paige's energy and what she has to share, then go see her, speak to her. I encourage you to go speak to Paige. So do that. Otherwise, Paige, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to hit stop on the live stream, and then we can finish up off camera. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Awesome.